Unfortunate. Okay.
There it goes.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Jim Graywolf here for a gathering of eagles with my co-host this week, Valeria Cleveland. So we're holding the fort here, which it's still in holiday times. Not a lot of people showing. My brother Christopher from New Zealand is under the weather and probably won't be here, although we never know. He could pop his Kiwi head in at any moment. But excuse me, we decided to go ahead anyway. Here we go. Our friends in Pine Ridge just showed up. They were having connection problems as well. So this is really interesting. We have Valerie and I sitting here at the moment, and there's 14 people in Pine Ridge. So they're the numbers. We're just holding space, I guess. I don't know. And the grandmothers up Portland way, they're, up Seattle way. They're having issues. They may or may not get on. I saw they were on briefly and then off. And the weather's horrible there. So anyway, Valerie and I had started talking. Why don't we open the circle first anyway? Hey guys, Tom, all of you up there, whoops, welcome. Glad you made it. They were also having connection problems. They want to know if we're going to go ahead. I think let's go ahead for a while and see what develops. You good with that, Valerie?
Good. I'm good.
Okay. So so Tom, we have a unexpected co-host in Valerie. They're glad. They remember you from, I guess it was last week. They said you have good energy. So, we're just going to go with what we have. This is quite interesting. It's kind of like everything else right now. It's what we were just talking about. But let's get these directions opened as I'm feeling into it. Creator, ancestors, Mother Earth, Father Sky, animal guides, spirit guides. We call you all in collectively today as things are spinning rapidly into chaos, as there's no understanding from moment to moment what's happening. There is the ability, however, to open our hearts, and we ask you to all work with us, to be able to open our hearts, to not allow fear to guide our actions, but rather to allow trust and belief and love to guide our actions. So we meet here today to talk about some of these issues and about how we work with the mother and nature to actually connect with them in a deeper way, to integrate with them, which helps with all these issues. Thank you for hearing us. We don't ask for ourselves alone. We ask for everyone involved who's here now, who will hear this later, and we hope to reach out to more beyond that. Om Takayasi. Okay. So, Valerie and I where were we with that, Valerie? Okay. Oops. Yeah, I guess we were talking a bit about trying to understand what's going on right now, and you really can't. I'm getting a ton of people, way more than I normally do, mentioning that they feel like, they put this in different ways, but like their brains and their hearts are fighting, is the best way I can put it. Some say they feel like they're at war, some say they're not balanced, others are saying they're out of alignment, and I get it. I'm feeling it myself. And I want to mention this again. I did, I think, once before. When people reach out to me and to some of my elder friends too, and they're like, okay, so tell me how I do this, because you know how it works, you've done it before. Not necessarily, not this way. Yeah, some of us who have been around and I'll bet you Valerie would agree. She's a long-time teacher. I'll bring her on in a minute. We've got experience getting through things. But anybody who says they really understand what's going on right now is either lying or delusional. Because I don't see how anybody, we've been told in the teachings and the prophecies this all was going to happen. But until it's actually happened, there's no way to understand what that's going to be like. And so I would suggest that we all just allow ourselves to be open. If we let it go into our head and let our heads lead alone, you're going to go into panic. You're definitely going to go into panic. Our brains are, what's the right word? Caretakers. Our brains warn us when there's danger. Unfortunately, they still warn us from dangers that really don't have merit anymore. So we need to go in, I think, in balance. Spirit, heart, brain, all of it. And we'll probably hit that a little more later, too. And the biggest, best way to do that, in my opinion, is nature. So I'm going to shut up at that point, and I'm going to hand the stick to Valerie. Hi, Valerie. What's going on? Why are you here? And what are your thoughts?
Why am I here? Well, I'm on a spiritual journey. I have started exploring the native way, the Red Road way, and I'm finding it to be resonating it deeply with me like it's always meant to be, if that makes sense. Just feels so right. And I would say that that's the missing, coming as many from a Christian background, but always felt like something wasn't complete. And I think you're absolutely right about everyone's feeling a little off, certainly out of balance. And the most tangible way is to connect with nature, connect also with one another in a real kind of way, if you know what I mean, authentic. And that is something that draws me here, quite honestly. I find authenticity in Jim and Chris, who was here last week, and you can't find that just everywhere. So I feel it in my heart, and it feels so good to connect, even if it is online. Very important to connect at this time, not to go it alone. I think about our, too bad Jerry Maynard isn't here, but the Hopi prophecy. Doesn't it say something about this is not the time of the lone wolf?
It does, and not just Hopi. That's in the Lakota. It's in a lot of the tribal structures. Yes, and I've been saying it for years now, especially being a wolf. Lone wolf used to work fine. I used it a lot when I was younger, because of course when we're young, we can do anything, and right. It won't work now. Definitely won't work now. It'll get you to a certain point and not that far, and then you hit a wall, because these are not times to work alone. So yeah, you're right.
So finding connection, I think, is always important, but in this time, it's vital. Maybe think on how you can connect. And I think it's a great way to go online here. This is a good connection.
Yeah, I think you're right. Being authentic, that's a good one too. When we get older, we learn not to, what's the right word? Put on masks. Quite honestly, most people, we don't really care anymore. Here I am, here's what I am. I'm speaking the truth as I see it. You may disagree, that's fine. And I think you're right, that's important. And there is a number of folks out there, there are a number of folks out there. I have to watch my words, I'm here with a teacher. That seem to be stuck like, well, but this is the way we used to do it. Well, that's not the way it needs to be now. I've learned a lot from so many cultures, and I totally value and respect what I've learned about the ways, and I know some of them, and I use them in ceremony. But I think some of those have to be, well, respected and brought forward. They also have to be shifted, because these times are totally different. And I think that's actually part of the lone wolf thing. Now as a collective, I poured a lodge on full moon on New Year's Eve. Was that New Year's Eve? Yeah. Was it? Oh, whatever it was. Full moon, the 3rd. And we were a nice group, collective group. Couple Hopi were in the lodge, couple of Dene friends. I'm United Western Lenape. I had a Blackfoot friend, and we had four left? 4 or 5 non-native folks. And while I normally would pour a Lakota lodge, that's how I was trained first. And we had one Mayan member, actually. We went with an older custom, which used to be called a willow lodge. It developed back east. And it was there so all cultures would be welcomed and recognized. And it wouldn't be a static, here's the way it was done thing. And that's what we did, and it was really powerful. So it had a lot of elements of the Lakota, that's what I'm used to. But we brought in those other pieces. And we all went out feeling, and these were elders, this is a circle of elders I'm part of, which means I just live long enough to be invited into an elder circle. It was so powerful. We had things happen, which sometimes happen in lodge. We heard drums throughout most of the lodge, but we were not playing drums. And there were lights in the lodge itself, 4 or 5 times. And at one point, the lodge actually got lighter on the inside. It lasted at least 5 minutes, so it wasn't delusional, and no, there's no drugs involved. So, I forget where I was going with that, but it's integrating now. And you said, including each other, you're absolutely right, but we are part of nature. And of course, we forget that, and a lot of humans want to deny it. But we're a part of nature just like the wolves or the trees or people of other cultures or an ant. We're all parts. We're all parts of it. We all live here on this planet. We all have our assets, our superpowers, as the kids say now, I guess. And they vary and they differ. But collectively, they make up a really good whole, I think. Is that making sense?
Making sense. I have some questions.
Okay.
The lodge, did it seem though if the lights were perhaps ancestors? Did you get a feeling or presence?
Yeah, good question. Yes, is the short answer. So we were up on the mountain, San Francisco Peaks, up right above Flagstaff, where we've done lodges a lot of times. And, well, first of all, there were 11 of us there in the flesh. And I had people reach out who I know and saying, hey, what's going on? I sense you are doing something, blah, blah, blah. So, pardon me, there was 8 or 9 energetically there, including Christopher. I reached out to Christopher, actually. I said, come on into this lodge and do some healing. Yes, definitely sensed ancestors. There were a couple specific ancestors we were getting a call on. A couple of them, I didn't know the names. They were from people of other tribes. I was not familiar with them. Chief Golden Light Eagle came to several of us. Chief was a friend, and I used to do lodges with him years ago. He didn't make it through the COVID thing, but I definitely sensed his presence. And did they bring the lights? I never quite know. I've had similar things happen, not often, but this was through the whole lodge. I don't think I've ever had that happen. Yeah, it was powerful. It could have been animal guides, it could have been healing spirits. I just don't know. But it was definitely a presence. I remember, I don't remember who said, I think Grandmother Wendy on the way out. Whoa, good, we can get out now and breathe a little, because there must have been 400 people in there. Yeah, and we all laughed because we all felt it, they were all around us. So yeah, good question.
Probably each of the 11 people brought in their own ancestors and their
Yes,
own
yes.
spirit guides. And it must have been amazing. I got goosebumps as you described it. I'm like, wow.
And it just, it happened, and that's another good thing. Again, a good reason not to be in our heads too much right now. It causes us to plan, and how can you plan with this kind of stuff going on? You plan to get through the next day is about the best we can do. But what I thought I had planned for the wolf moon, full moon, that all fell apart. For various reasons, doesn't matter. So I wasn't going anywhere. That's okay, I'll just relax for a couple of days. And then next thing I know, a friend and her husband called, hey, can you come over on New Year's Eve? Because we have someone coming from, she's Mayan, coming from LA. We're going to do a fire ceremony. I said, okay, I can come over for a bit. And besides, we should meet and talk about, we've got some thing going on between our two properties. I said, okay, sounds good. When do you want to do this? Well, how about like 4 o'clock? Okay. So I'm off for that, maybe 20 minutes, and one of the elders, usually the one who tends the rocks, his health won't let him go in the lodge anymore. He called and said, we were going to do a lodge, I know, later in the week, but some of us are feeling it should be tonight. And I said, oh, really? Yeah, and it should be at midnight. I'm like, oh boy. And we want you to pour it because you're the Graywolf. So you're the wolf presence among us. And I'm thinking, can I actually do this? 76, I get tired doing these things and my knees hurt. But anyway, okay, let's give it a shot. So where do you want to, are you coming here? And oh no, we're going to do it on the mountain. Well, that just adds another hour and a half drive. Anyway, we went through it, we did it. My energy was so strong, and so was everyone else by midnight, that it was perfect. And then afterwards, we thought we were going to drive to Hopi Land for the meal, but the women realized we'd be tired, so they had already sent people with the food. So we ate there in Flag, and I slept at somebody's place a bit and went home the next day. So, yeah, we were bringing in the spirits for sure. We called them in, or they called us in. I guess is more like it. They were also, you said something earlier. What was it, Valerie?
I was talking about each of the 11 brought in their ancestors, their spirit guides, their...
Oh, I know what it was. No, it was way back in the beginning. And Tom, if you guys listen to this too, they're writing some notes. That's our friends on the res who can't get computer access, everyone. So we do it this way. They're listening on my phone and they type out questions. And I'm working with them to see if they'd be willing at some point to drive to the casino so they could have access if I can get them a computer. Anyway, you said you're stepping up to walk the red road to learn. And that's, great. I remember when I did it more than 2 years ago, I guess. Yeah, more than 32 years ago. So right now, That's an interesting concept too, and this came into Lodge as well. The red road is awesome. I've walked it a long time. But what does that mean exactly? Because there's a yellow road, a black road, and a white road. And we're all striving to understand and move into a place where we can create an earth that's based on love and empathy and compassion and fairness. That's not any one color. And I've been fortunate to work with all four of the colors. More on the red road than anything else. Because that's what invited me in way back when I was, God, I don't know, 30 years old. But it's important that we be inclusive of everyone. So we need to be able to walk each other's roads. We all have a primary road. I learned mine was different than I thought at first when I was about 30 and found out what my DNA really was. Before that, I just figured I was white or Italian. So yeah, understanding each other's, and that came into the lodge. So the entities that were there, we felt that. We felt their difference. One of the people who came in energetically, was a Sami friend from up northern Norway. And she came in to be, felt her in the lodge. And we felt her ancestors, which were very different than others. So, yeah, we felt that difference. And the prophecies talked a lot about the time would come, which is now, that we needed to share our differences and share our cultures and share our learnings and be one with each other. And a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are still fighting it. A lot of people think we should recreate something the way it was. The way it was is gone. And you know what? I'm sorry, that's a good thing. Because it has not worked yet. We've improved some things, but we've been controlled dramatically. That's what I think we're starting to see now. And that's where the mother, where the earth, stands there and says, now will you listen to me? Now will you start doing what I tell you to do? Because I've been here a bit. You know, you talk about being the first tribes. That's me. You came in after I was here. And so, for me, that's been huge. And the animals, likewise. They're also original tribes, first tribes. That's where, and I've taught this a long time, and we've done shows on it, connecting with the animals, connecting with Mother. But it's even deeper than just, it's important to get out there, for sure. Some every day if we can, even if you go sit in your backyard or walk down the street to the park. You know, if 20 minutes, if that's all you have. But what's been shown to me a lot, in my dreams mostly, is healing does not work, does not happen inside. Healing all happens outside. Inside is supportive. There's things we do inside. There's ceremonies I run inside because it would be very difficult outside. But the primary healing and teaching about other ways to walk happens outside. And so, you know, and I've had my T-shirts for years. You know, Mother Nature is my church. That's where you'll find me on Sundays or whatever. So I think we need to do it more and more. And being able to integrate yourself into the Mother. And Tom, if you all have anything on this, I would welcome it. Tom's the one who leads the group in Pine Ridge, and he is very connected to the planet. Always has been. He's a bit younger than me. I think, Tom, I'm going to say you're what, 52 or 3 now, I think. Maybe 55 by now. It's a good thing you're aging. Okay. Valerie, it's on to you. Do you have anything on that?
So much. Yes, it's kind of like music. I think that um, I think about the lodge experience that you described, and each of us bring in a different background. But isn't it lovely when you have different instruments and different tones, and it all comes together? And I shared a little bit on Facebook about that during our winter solstice. I heard drums the entire day. Where I'd go outside, I'd go different wherever I went, and I thought it was because there's people drumming all over the world because it's winter solstice. But I read your posting, and it said that it was Mother Earth's heartbeat, and I that makes more sense. Probably was Mother Earth because I just felt the mother so strong on that particular on the winter solstice day. I felt her so strong. I felt the heartbeats, I think too, of the people all over connecting. And of course we were doing that with our gathering of eagles as well. So it was a very powerful, and I agree, the whole wolf moon was pretty. We've had some pretty strong spiritual events happening between the winter solstice and the the wolf moon was just very, very powerful. So we've got this strange dichotomy going on. We've got the deterioration of structures. As we've talked a little bit just on the side of, you go to do any one thing and it gets all very strange. You go to do business of any kind. It just gets very strange because it's all sort of deteriorating. The structures are literally crumbling. And I think that uh, we've got to double down on our spiritual connection and our connection to nature, um, to make it through to those as things get more, the energies get more scattered, the structures are getting more, I don't know, like they're not functional. Um, so those are just some of my thoughts. I'm gonna hand the talking stick back. Thank you.
Yeah, no, those are. I totally agree with you. And it is going to get more chaotic before it lessens. That's for sure. I kind of feel like saw this in a dream last night, and I've kind of felt it before. But my wolf guides are with me last night in my dreams, and when that happens, I know something's coming. And I saw some of what we've been going through, and the way things are crumbling. Actually, well, we'll go there later. So we've gone through this, what was it calling it? Tempest storm, this incredible storm we've gone through. And right now we're kind of in this little pocket of rest. Things are crazy, spinning around us. People are doing and saying things that you look at them and you go, what? They actually did that? They actually said that? And that's from people we know close to us, right up to people like our president who's gone off and doing things, and people are just amazed, and yet nobody quite knows how to stop it or is willing to, because some of the old control, greed pieces are still there. They have to be extinguished. So I'm thinking what's happening is, and when you have a big tornado, you go through the front of it and then there's that peaceful part in the middle. But then you have to go through the other side to get out of it. And I think that's where we are. And I think we're rapidly approaching the other side, which will also be chaotic, but will be less intense and not as long. And I think that's exactly where we are. And then I got visions of, I swear to God, what is it? The Wizard of Oz. And when she got whipped up to go to Oz, maybe we'll all land in Oz. I don't know. Except this time the Wicked Witch is male, not female. But anyway, we can deal with that. Yeah, that, and then I was shown, and of course I've already been commenting on it but I felt it even stronger when I see it in dreams. The systems primarily are pulled down. Almost none of them are functioning. They've already crashed. The only thing holding them up at all is denial and the purposeful intentions of those in control yet. And they're doing all they can to distract us. Even here in the U.S., even to the level of attacking in other countries. So we'll forget about some of these other things going on. And so that's playing a role. And the way to get around this is to connect in with nature. Nature doesn't go there, doesn't choose sides, doesn't hate. It's there to be that fertile ground that we plant on. And that's all of us, not just humans. And that's a huge step, and a lot of people still have to make it. A lot of times still when I talk about animals being part of our family, which is the indigenous teaching, I'll get people to look at me like I'm nuts. That's okay. Feel free. You're what's the old, didn't you get the email? But today somebody sent me, again, a really good article this time, on the fact that they see that the trees can communicate amongst themselves now. And they can function as a whole, even globally. And when that happens, I laugh because my elders have been teaching me that for 30 years or more. And their elders and on. Science.
Thousands of years, right?
Yeah, thousands of years from the beginning. But it's also a good thing because some people have to learn that way. They can't accept something unless they have that as well. So I'm glad that science is catching up, if you will. Because positive science is not a bad thing.
That's a scientist out of Canada.
Yeah.
And I wish I
Yep.
could remember her name. A
Oh,
female, a
yes.
female scientist, which, it's interesting that uh, it's coming from a feminine source, as we've needed that balance.
Yep.
And she, through scientific research, 2021, it was released. I think she wrote a book, Mother Earth, or
Yeah.
something.
It was something like that anyway.
And
I thought I might
basically,
have it.
the old paradigm, the belief, as we would teach in science, was that the trees would compete for the resources, the
Excuse me.
canopy idea and all that kind of stuff, that they would fight to get to the canopy in order to get the sunlight and all that. Well, of course, this is all just not true. It's just not true at all.
Mm-hmm.
As she proved through science that I think she was taking actual samples from the tree and the sap and so on.
Mm-hmm.
She was discovering that not only did they share resources, but they communicated. And if there was a sick tree, they would, when I say they, it was the collective trees, would send healing to the dying tree, sending it through the mycelium right through the ground, would work together to help the sick tree. So it was contrary to all that we had been taught about that rugged individualism kind of stuff. It goes right back to the lone wolf.
Mm-hmm.
It really disproves the lone wolf, do it alone, is not working. It is not. It's a failed system.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We are in a time like the trees.
Mm-hmm.
We need to work together. We need to help each other. We need to communicate. We need to gather in our lodges, and we need to return back to the old systems that were rooted in Mother Earth, that worked and do work, kind of thing. I don't know how I got this talking stick, but I'm back.
No, it's good. No, we're just passing it back and forth. It's perfect. So Tom is saying they like your words. They totally agree. And you're already on the red road. So that's exactly the sort of things you need to learn. Okay. And yes, we need to. Tom worked with trees a lot his whole life. And he's part of a program on Pine Ridge where they are planting, I don't know, millions of trees, literally. And they've been doing it for about 10 years now, I think, to try to bring back some of the tree structure there. And then they want to bring back the grasslands and then bring back more buffalo. Long-term view, but that's important.
I did a quick look up here because I want to give her proper, recognition. It's Susan Simard, Simard,
Simard, I thought it was.
Simard.
Yeah, yep, good, that's it. That's what I was, yep.
I did that.
And there's been others, but that was a really, yeah, that was a pivotal piece. And still it's, each time science proves one of these things to it's just funny. It's like, yeah, why don't you listen to the elders? You would have known that. Now, take it another step. I think we talked a little bit about shape-shifting, I think last week.
Yes.
That's one way to integrate more deeply with nature, with animals, with guides. Shape-shifting, of course, according to Hollywood, is you turn into big bad wolf, or you turn into some other animal, or suddenly you're a bird and you've literally turned into a, no. Sorry, wrong. Shape-shifting is the ability to connect with the nature of, whoops, almost lost our group there, with another being or with the overall earth. That's what it is, and that means going really into your heart. When you do that work, you have to be spirit-led, and you have to be in the heart. The brain is only used to process information maybe afterwards. But if you practice that, and I've been asked, and I'm going to start setting up some Zoom times, or I don't know what venue you will use, we'll see. I've been looking at that school thing. That looks pretty good too. I have friends using it. Platform to actually teach some of these things, because these take time. But you can get to the point, absolutely, where you can go and you can be part. You can feel as one with me. I work with the eagle and the wolf a lot. They're both my names. My name from my tribe is Graywolf, but my second name involved an eagle as well. And so I'll spend time, especially when I journey or meditate, connecting with them strongly. When I go out in nature, I do it with nature, usually through trees. So I've known since I was young, which I'm happy I can still remember, but I'll go sit with the trees. There's the, oh dear, I lost the name. Pango trees? Yeah. In Utah, which is actually arguably the largest living organism on Earth, because all those trees have one root that they all grew out of. And it covers, I don't know what, hundreds of acres. And if you go there and walk out somewhere into the trees and just sit, boy, can you hear them. I always hear drums there, always. I've heard flutes being played. I've seen people and animals walking through, kind of wispy and not fully formed, but I've seen them. Other times I've seen them fully formed, and afterwards I'll ask somebody in the local area and they'll laugh and say, oh yeah, he's been walking through there for 300 years. Oh, okay. But I can feel that collective energy, and I can ask to be part of it. And this doesn't always take people say, well, oh yeah, but that you must sit there for hours to. No, sometimes it'll happen right away. Other times, yes, I'll sit there a long time, and that's okay because I'm working on myself as I do that. And sometimes that connection comes, and sometimes it doesn't. But if you let that come, the earth will take a lot of what you're feeling, dis-ease, illness, a lot of those physical things, especially now, are being generated because of the emotional impacts on us. And so a lot of people are leaving and heading into the spirit realm. I went through it myself. I started questioning, why am I still here? Can I go now? Haven't I done my share? And I came back to nope, I had agreed to stay here through this and blah, blah, blah. So I'm still here. But other people, I get it. It's like, wow, how much more do I have to take? I've done my part. So when you sit out there in nature, you realize you are already part of that. You're part of the spirit realm and the physical realm, because they connect between Father Sky and Mother Earth, between Creator and the planet itself, in circle. So if you want to really understand what community is and what deep healing can be, start with that. Find some trees, even one tree, because it will be connected. Ideally, you can find a little grove of something. That's perfect. And just sit there for a while. Stay hydrated. That's really important to do this work. And then, whoops, here we go. It's actually making a ping this time, so I see. Okay. So from Tom, yes, pray with the trees when you're there. Ask Creator for guidance when you're in the trees. Ask the trees for that guidance. Feel the mother. Take your shoes off. Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
Now, some of you are in winter. Sorry about that. And it's harder to do. But if you can, take them off anyway, even for a moment, and just touch the earth. If not, try not to wear shoes that are really just all plastic. If you can find something that's more natural, you're better off. But yeah, thanks, Tom. You're absolutely right about that. If you're in a place where you're safe and secluded, and the weather allows, go naked. Really sit with the earth. And I've done that at times, and that is so powerful. Seek a place with trees that's also near water. Kind of focused on trees and animals right now, but water is critical as well. That's the mother's blood. That's her system of blood. So yeah, if that exists, absolutely. Valerie, where do you live?
I'm in Wisconsin by Green Bay.
I knew that, but they asked, so I wanted them to hear your answer. So yeah, she's up in the frozen tundra.
Yes. There would be some cold feet.
Yeah, really cold, really fast.
I'd connect real fast.
Yeah, I can see on your phone, hey, I need help. My feet are frozen to the ground. Green Bay, Wisconsin, the Blackfoot, the Menominee.
Yes.
Yeah, that's their listing as well. So respect to the tribes and the people and the tree tribes up that way. Okay. Yeah, that's the kind of place I like to visit in the summer. So I have no desire whatsoever to live in cold regions again. It was okay when I was younger, but no.
I took a drive by the lake the other day,
Hmm.
and this is one of my favorite things to do because there's a certain point where the waves, as they're getting ready to splash, literally a tide, it'll swing up and then it'll freeze
Yep.
midair. And I'm just so fascinated when the sun comes out, because this was a particular day when the sun came out, which isn't every day here, but a beautiful sun came out, and then I could see the light shining through that frozen wave. And I just so fascinated by that, that it's like frozen time as that wave is just,
Hmm.
sitting there midair, and you can see the light shining through, and it's kind of bluish, greenish. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's powerful. Oh, I can feel that. I've seen that too. Oh, come on. Hello, brain. The falls, the big falls, New York.
Oh, Niagara?
Niagara Falls, thank you.
Okay.
Woo! Ah, yeah, at Niagara Falls, I've seen that as well. And it's amazing because it looks, I don't know what the reality is, but it looks like it's literally freezing as it's thrown up. And it's often with rainbow colors in it because it's capturing the prisms of whatever's in there. Yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you for that. So okay, here's from some of the young people up there in the group. There's 7 of them there. 7 of the folks there today are our youth corps, who's been with us for about a month now. And they're being taught now by Tom and others to, ahead of time, to talk to the mother, to ask her to guide, to ask permission to go into her realms, to ask her to connect with them before the time they're going to actually do it, to ask her where to go to do it best and what lessons to learn. So that's really good. I used to do that I still do it. I had this lodge tour the other day. I had a day and a half before it that I found out, well, about a day. And so I stopped what I was doing. I went out to my lodge here on my land and just sat there and I asked those questions. And Tom's adding, and remember to speak that aloud. It's really important, especially when we work with nature, animals, trees, whatever. Don't think because you're inside of you're asking something or saying something, that those entities are going to get it. You have to actually speak it out. You're going to put it out into the universe there. It makes a huge difference. People tell me, boy, I've been praying for this for 5 years and nothing's happening. And I'll say, well, how do you do it? Well, I sit quietly and I meditate and I pray. I said, but are you speaking it? What do you mean? No, I don't have to speak it. I said, well, try that. And often they'll come back and say, oh, wow, it's different this time. So it's really important to use our senses, all of them, not just, that's why we were given them. People who are absent of sense, the others pick up for it. Their other senses. So there's a reason we have all these senses. So yeah, thanks, Tom. Good addition there. Okay, so Tom's aware of the program I used to do. Actually, some friends created it, and then I came in and we did some more work with it. It's called Natural Leadership Way. And back in the day, we did it actually to work with companies, or then we also did groups of students. And the way this works, because he's asked me to share it, I'm trying to think how to share it. Would it be helpful to? Yeah, well. So what we would do is we'd go out somewhere in the woods near where we were going to meet with the group, or if they were coming to do a retreat, somewhere near it, and we'd find a place that looked pretty diverse in nature. It had trees and grass and birds and, I don't know, maybe fairies and, I don't know, werewolves, whatever, dragons. No, I'm just joking around. But yes, look for something fairly diverse. It didn't have to be, because part of the teaching was you would see how diverse it was. And we would actually mark off that area, usually an acre. If there were a lot of people, it would go more than that. You'd mark it off. You could use tape or you could use sticks. Didn't matter. And then you'd go into that area with a notepad, preferably not a recorder. You don't want to go in with electronics. Go in the old-fashioned way. Have a nice pen. You all know pen. You all remember that, people? It's one of these things. Makes marks on pieces of paper. Oh, dear. Yeah, to record your thoughts and what you see. And you start looking at the area. So first you kind of look around. And you feel it out. Okay, there's trees over here. Oh, look, there's a couple robins there. There's an owl sitting, whatever. You get a sense for what's going on in that area. And you stay open. Once again, don't think about it too much. Just feel into it. And what you see, your third eye will take pictures. Your third eye is actually a camera, not an interpretive device. So it will be taking the pictures of what you see. And see if a spot there talks to you. Go there first and sit there. And just connect in. Do the thanks to Creator and the Mother for allowing you to be there, and then ask permission to open the doors wider so you can connect. And start looking around, and again, make notes. What do you see? Well, I see beetles on the ground. Okay, beetles on the ground. That's nice. So what? What are they doing? And keep going deeper and deeper. Well, they're carrying, actually, look, they're carrying bits of leaves, all right? Beetles are carrying leaves. Cool. Why? Oh, well, I'll have to follow them. So stay focused on them a bit and see what happens. You'll start to see the connections. And you'll start to see quickly, as one thing changes, they all change. And they all have to adapt. And you start to see that pattern. That's the natural leadership way. If you pay attention, well, the Mother's telling you, okay, here's a way. If you all carry this part of the load, you get there, and what you need is put in one place. For the ones that go off by the lone wolves, once again, lone wolves showing up a lot. For those that go off like a lone wolf, they end up out in the desert, and they don't last too long anymore. Or they become hermits, and they're not connected to anything any longer. But you really can start to see amazing connections. I've done this in the redwoods to great effect, because the redwood trees in Northern California, unique in the world, it's the only place they are. They have such an interconnected biology with everything there. The weather is part of it, the insects are part of it, the birds are part of it. That you can learn so much about how's a good way to function and survive. The redwoods are so large they can't draw up enough nourishment through their roots to feed the tree. That only goes about halfway in a lot of them. And so that's why they exist in this area where there's a lot of mist, because they get their nutrients then directly from the mist in the top part of the tree. And on and on and on. The insects play a role in some of the holes in the tree, and then the birds come and eat some of the insects. And then that deposits, when the birds pass their waste, that goes down on the ground, and that feeds again to the roots. But the whole thing, you start to see, wow, why can't humans do this? Why are we always fighting each other? And you start to understand it's because there's a few have put it at each other's throats by teaching how different we are instead of how similar we are. And boy, you can walk out of there with, I've had people walk out after doing one of these courses, just completely changed their leadership style. Where they were top down, they've started to become more inclusive. When I was with Colorado State, I'll throw this one in and then I'll pass the stick back again. Every course I taught had an element of service learning. So my students had to go out in the community and do something. They had to work with a group, or they could find a mentor, and I would help them find it. My event planning classes, we ran the Earth Day celebration for the university. Whatever. They had to actually do something. And I had students that absolutely loved that, and I had students who wished they could hang me up on a tree. And they would leave my course. And that's okay. We all learn differently. But I can remember I had some pretty good support there, but I also had those that would attack me. And one of my department chairs in my college didn't like the way I taught it all. He was just, give him the facts, ma'am, just the facts. And he accused me one time of, oh, for God's sake, I lead like Patton. I give the orders and I expect everyone to follow it. You lead like Abraham Lincoln. And he thought he was offending me. I thought it was one of the best compliments.
Yes.
And I was like, thank you. He looked at me like, are you crazy? I just insulted you. So anyway, it's funny. It's just how we learn. And if we can learn these skills, we will create that new earth. We are already creating it. Just here today, and even though it's only the two of us looking at each other, and how many, Tom? Now, there's 14 people with Tom right now. 7 of them are the young people. But just with that, we're putting this energy out into the universe, and it will be shared, and others play these during the week. Sometimes more than others. I never understand why. It doesn't matter. But it's that wave effect. Okay, I'm talking too much. You can have the stick.
All right. I was want to absolutely. I agree with you on the service learning, getting out and teaching. There is just so much to be learned from that. We used to coordinate a program in the middle school called Do Something. And I think you can find it online. It says dosomething.org. And on that particular day each year, we would get out and rake yards for, elderly citizens and, just do some kind things. And it was one of the most memorable events of the year, for the kids. And some of those kids that, were a little bit reluctant in school would be they would shine, because they were really good at raking leaves and they got out of the building and they loved it. So I think that, that has a place. And I think about the feminine and the masculine when you talk about the pattern kind of thing. I don't know if that's good masculine. Maybe that's toxic masculinity, but it's kind of a top down sort of structure. What I have found is that uh, I see what they say about efficiency and so on, but that will only short term work. People will follow the rules and get in line for a minute. You know what I mean? Just so they don't get the whatever the downside of not doing it, and they'll comply for a minute, but then it's done and it's forgotten. What I find with the more nurturing, the more long term, the more all in, cooperation. It takes time. It's not as efficient, but what you will see is that people will have buy-in the long term. I can tell you that some of those youth that grew up that did the Make a Difference Day and break those leaves, they're adults now that they're probably fondly remember that experience. And it was life impacting, like they brought that. I can see, matter of fact, some of my former students are now teachers and they are, carrying that forward because it was such an impactful experience for them that they know you got to connect with community. So it keeps on to another generation. It has a long-term impact if you approach things cooperatively. And who teaches us this better than Mother Earth? If you want, uh, for things to be sustained, we must work cooperatively. And if you don't work cooperatively, well, there will be consequences. There will be something that is lost if you don't work cooperatively. It's a law of nature. And do we think that we get a bypass and don't have to follow? No, we will find out the hard way. But we too are part of nature, so we don't get to escape that law. So talking stick back to you.
No, that's absolutely. Wow. Whew, I don't know where to begin on that one. Yeah, that's a lot of good. We have to work cooperatively now. People tell me, we used to do things in council in the past. It's correct. There was a fair amount of that, and it still exists. My elders' councils, that's how we run things. But it's not perfect, it never was, and even those councils often were controlled by a few. And that's somehow needs to shift so that everybody has a voice. They can choose not to engage, that's of course their prerogative, but that's what's caused a lot of our problems. We have allowed the few to tell us how different we are. Well, he's a Catholic, she's a Jew, he's black, she's yellow, whatever. So we need to get around that, and again, the earth is the way to do it. The earth doesn't know what color we are, doesn't know what gender we are, doesn't know anything about us except we're on her at that moment in that place, and feels it's either a quality thing or not. And right now we're not. We're an invasive species for sure, and that's what we have to begin to work on. Now there's signs we're having effects. I was actually working on a video before this podcast because again people were saying to me, "Hey Jim, you're putting out a lot of posts, about animals, and a lot of posts about some positive things going on in the environment." And I'm like, yes, thank you for noticing. And I am interspersed with, I'll do a video when something hits me that somebody says. And I'm doing that intentionally to create that environment, that feeling that, yeah, okay, here this happened. Somebody put this land into a preservation, or okay, we got 3 countries down here, Belize, Mexico, and Guatemala, coming together to collectively protect the land, on and on and on. Or the wolves have made a comeback. The wolves are back in Colorado now. I worked on that for 10, 12 years when I was there. They're there now, and somebody will say, "Oh, wow, Jim, where are they in Colorado?" Yeah, they're in a place that's safe where no one can hassle them. You're not about to hear from me. I know where they are. I'm not going to say, because we have to protect them. And Tom was just saying for the group as well, to please talk about, yes, we can ask a lot from the mother and from animals, but as we do, we have to stay in balance. We have to give a lot as well. And they need us just like we need them in different ways. They can guide us through our actions. They can show us things that, things like, I mentioned, what did I use before? Cockroach, whatever. They've been here since, right in the beginning. They crawled out of the original seas. So they can teach survival skills, but then they need something from us. Dogs and cats. I'm starting to try to put together some collective groups to help with rehoming dogs and cats. I've done that with a friend of mine who does it for a number of years, a little side thing. But I didn't realize how horrible some of the things done to those animals are. And they're family members too. This fella goes to New Mexico, which is a kill state, to rescue dogs and cats and bring them back here and get them rehomed. And I help them where I can. I try to raise some money so that those that need need medical care, and he has some vets who, do things just for the cost and whatever. And I'll need help with that because I can't do it alone. But I'd like to see a lot of pods doing that. And he showed me some of the numbers, and yeah, it just, okay, so one state, New Mexico, they kill on average between, what was it, 40 and 60,000 animals a year. Yep. They've killed a lot more recently with all the other things going on. So whoops, says my internet's unstable. Hopefully I'll hang in there, folks. They take animals that there's nothing wrong with otherwise, except they don't have a place to be, which seems suitable to humans who are judging them, and they kill them. They just euthanize them. And as he told me this, I mean, yes, I knew it was happening, but like many of us do, and I have to admit, I was pushing it away. I didn't want to look at this. I didn't realize it's those kinds of numbers. And again, that's one state. I don't know how many of the states are kill states, but I think it's at least half. It's inexcusable. To me, that's probably get in trouble for this, but I don't see any difference between that and what Israel is doing to Gaza now, or what now suddenly we're about to do to Venezuela, or whatever. I don't see any difference. I really don't. Why? Because they're lesser beings? No, they're not. They have their roles just like we do. They're part of the balance. The wolves are a key species, and I connect with them the most. And any of you who really want to practice, start with wolves. The wolves will talk to you quickly. The wolves are absolute survivors. Humans have tried to kill them off for hundreds of years, and they keep coming back because they do know how to survive. They do know balance. They do know when they have not enough numbers, they reproduce more. When they have too many numbers, they cut back, as do a lot of the species. And they're strong, and yet they're peaceful, unless they're attacked. And then in circle, they defend themselves. So there's a lot of things going on out there that we can address. There is no reason we should be killing animals. Why? To make more room for humans, or so we're comfortable? Those whole thought processes have to change. That also promotes our healing. As we do that, I mean, again, indigenous people have known this. I've heard it for generations. As you do those things and serve those things, you start to heal yourself at a cellular level. And it does reflect up in through your body. As you do the horrific things, that has the opposite effect. That can bring forth things you do not want to face. And so it's that whole balance once again. When we're asking, this was Tom's point, when we're asking for things from nature, from things from animals, even from the trees, make sure we're giving back as much or more as we are able. And give thanks, of course, always. Okay. Oh. Tom, I'm not sure what you guys mean. They're in the process of typing something. Oh, okay, so Valerie, they're bringing you up, and you were talking about how things can be just, you think she's used the short term as the word?
Yes.
Yes, what was that about? I'm sorry, I remember you saying it, but what was the reference?
When you have a structure such as patent, but we'll just use patent, a
Yeah.
military kind of structure,
Yeah.
then those that are subordinate will do what they're told just out of fear or out of bad consequences that may come their way. So they'll comply in the short term just to get through it, but it won't have any long-term effect. Like they won't buy into the greater purpose, or because they're they're just they're functioning out of fear, and it is not a sustainable structure. It is a structure that, yeah, you'll get the job done. There is a certain amount of efficiency there, but you'll lose the long term benefit. And I am one that would argue the case. Well, you have a greater outcome if you work cooperatively, because then you get more people to buy into it, and they will have greater effect in the long term. And so that's where I gave the example of my former students. You
Yeah.
know, we're out raking leaves, and it could be arguable. Why aren't you in school? You're out raking leaves. But the long term effect of that was that the students understood, a lot. They learned a lot more hands on, and they also long term bought into it, so much so that I have former students that are now teachers that are still,
Hmm.
doing kinds of things. So even beyond what you can measure, will be the benefit of working cooperatively than to force it with a structure, a fear structure, really, one where there's short term get her done, but it may not be to the best benefit in the long term.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, he said that's what they were thinking. So, okay. Yeah. Got it. I've experienced that too. Um, at first, I was surprised. I'm trying to think, but I've had similar things to you, and I have students as well who are now teachers, and occasionally I run into them, especially when I'm back in Colorado. Um, I remember I used to have AmeriCorps groups on the environmental center I ran for the university, and youth corps groups, and groups for disadvantaged youth. And all of we teachers came together to try to meld these pieces. But for the AmeriCorps groups, I was the sponsor. I had two of them on the site at any time. And they would ask me, well, okay, you want to build this part of trail? How do we do that, Jim? Gee, I don't know. What do you think? How would you do it? And they're like, oh, for God's sake, will you just tell us? No. Go take a look at it, come back and tell me what you... So we went through, for one of them, we went through their whole 12 weeks, first 12 weeks, then they had 12 more. And they were having a big awards program or something for the AmeriCorps group up that part of Colorado. And they asked me to attend, which I did. And I thought this poor young woman who led the one group just wanted to kill me because I would never give her a quick, yeah, well, take this, put it there, move this. Hell, that only shows you I know how to do it. So, but then they called me up and she spoke and she's like, yes, I must admit, I wanted to kill Mr. Petruzzi for at least half of the... It was so funny. And the whole place was laughing. But I finally realized, what he was doing. And I got this award which I found much more valuable than awards I got from other groups. So yeah, sometimes we don't know how we're affecting. I ran a land trust in Northern California for a while. And that's when I really understood my motto is APEX, action, prayer, education, and ceremony. To me, you have to have them all to be really effective. But I realized quickly, to tag into what you're saying, the education piece was critical if it was going to be long-term sustainable. We can take action, we can pray and do ceremony, we can take more action, we can get something passed that says, okay, this piece of land is going to be preserved now. But if we're not educating so that people value that piece of land, it's not going to last. Same thing with wilderness, because most people never get into a true wilderness. If they don't value it in some way, which means you have to educate them somehow, or at least let them see movies or something. If they don't value it, it's going to disappear. So yeah, I think that is a critical piece. And working with the earth, you definitely feel that. If you're going to be sustained, you humans as a species, and you individual humans, what's your value? What are you bringing? What are you bringing to the connection? The mother doesn't judge us, but she hears us and she views, and the earth understands what's going on. So it's not a matter of judging, it's a matter of, okay, what's best for all? And we need to start thinking like that. Not just what's best for me. God, especially Western culture, look what we've built. How much money do you make? Now you are in a highly profitable, big money generating business of being a teacher. But we don't all have that. For those who don't know, I am definitely tongue-in-cheek. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. We'll pay somebody that plays a sport, $20 million a year, and we'll pay a teacher $120,000 a year or whatever. It's insane, and it's all backwards. And money needs to go away in that way anyhow. Money doesn't mean anything, it just means money. But that's what the control people have used. And it will be interesting to see what happens when that collapses. This integrating with nature is even going to be more critical then. As these things really fall, and people are starting to see it now. But as you see it more and more, go to the earth. You want to get through it? Go to the earth. Find out what's going on. Look, ask. Start acting as part of it and not a separate part of it. Not, and again, I'm not judging religion, but not as religion has put on us for so long that we are the masters of the earth. What's the Bible say? That blah, 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 to use or... No, we're not. Not at all. We're part of it. We should be good caretakers for our part of it. But it's certainly not ours to use and abuse. Look what that's earned us. We keep just raping her resources. So for personal healing, oh dear, for collective healing, for earning the right to remain on the earth as a species. It's just critical right now to integrate ourselves with the earth and everything on it. I was laying in bed last night, working through some of these things, and suddenly the coyotes were here, which triggered my dogs. And one dog was laying next to me, and he decided to start barking. Oh boy, went right through me. But it certainly connected me to the earth.
Can you repeat Apex Action Prayer?
APEC.
Okay,
Action, Prayer, Education, Ceremony.
ceremony.
And there's a lot of things that can be put under those. I think people, it's certainly my way of looking at it. None of the things, anything I put out there, I wanted to say this too, because I do get a fair number of people who follow me, just like I follow a lot of other people. I'm putting out what I've learned and what I think. Hey, it's the old take what you need and leave the rest behind. There's 1,000 different ways of doing this, and part of it, again, is to pull together. And so we're valuing each other, and we're integrating these, weaving them together. And that also is what, when you connect with the earth, that's what it does. You don't see the bugs fighting with the animals. You don't see the animals fighting with each other. You certainly see the circle of life, animals feeding on other animals, animals feeding on bugs. I mean, that's part of it. But you don't see the wolves going to war with the bears, or the hummingbirds going to war with the beetles. You know, you don't see that. You don't see greed. You don't see avarice. You don't see hate. It's only humans. And I think that's part of what we have to work through in order to take advantage of one of our superpowers is our brains. Although I'm starting to wonder if that's true. The potential for what's in our minds is one of our superpowers. Although a lot of animals are a lot more savvy than they've ever been given credit for being. And whether that comes from their hearts or their brains, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I've seen some things with animals that, wow, I was like, holy mackerel. And I've never owned a pet. That's been coming up a lot lately, too. I've had animals that have agreed to walk with me for a period of time, my whole life. I don't own them. They don't own me. We walk together. We decide to walk together. We're giving each other things until the time arises, if it does, that we don't need to anymore. Or they leave. You know, I just had my one pup leave. So, yeah, they're family. Everything on the earth is family. And that's a huge part of the indigenous teachings. When the native people say mitakoyase, all my relations, they never meant just humans. At least the way I was taught, that was never meant. It means everything. The trees are my relatives, the wolves are my relatives. Mosquitoes, I'm out on that one. We'll see.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't have many here. You have tons.
Yes.
What else? Whew. Once again, we're going in a lot of directions, but that's really cool. Tom, thank you all, and thank our youth corps up there. They love being part of this. Okay, so next week, apparently, more of the youth council will be there. And they've invited their parents, grandparents, and other elders to come with them. So that might be interesting. So, yeah, no, that's fine. So if you guys up there want to think about it, we don't have to decide now what kind of topic coming out of this might be a good one. Let me know. Tom, just send me a message. We'll make it happen. Uh-oh, you've been given another name. Will Grandmother Valerie, your Grandmother Valerie now. Will Grandmother Valerie be there next week? I don't know.
I plan to be here.
Okay, she plans to be here. So, she has the topic area already in her heart. Okay? You may not know it, you may need time to explore it, but so they will send ideas, but they wish to hear from you also. So it doesn't have to be now, it can be whenever. That's pretty funny. So you're anointed grandmother now by at least one tribe, one part of one tribe. That's pretty funny. Good for you. Uh-oh, did you freeze? Or is it on my end?